Yeah.
I think I went to uni to sort of obviously learn medicine, but also to kind of enjoy uni life. But little did I realise I wasn't at university, I was at medical school. And although there was a culture of going out, it wasn't a big one. And a lot of people were, I've done my time, I've been out clubbing, drinking in my college years, I'm here to study. So a lot of people were head down, let's study. Whereas I wanted to do a bit of both. So yeah, I tried to enjoy that.
It was a relief to get in, and then you start sort of thinking about what it actually means and what being a doctor actually entails, and there you are quite apprehensive, I think. Plus, so I was 18 and going to university was quite a big thing anyway, leaving home, meeting a load of strangers, living with them. So you go through all of that as well, which I think probably a lot of students do anyway. But it was very exciting. It was very exciting to know that I was starting off on that sort of career, that sort of journey.
But it did feel like, right from the get-go, that the medical students have a certain type of personality. Like, it was quite easy to see that this wasn't by random chance, that you're in this room with people who have or of a particular personality type. And you're kind of sat there, and then you start to realize within a few weeks, because I don't know if you've heard this before, but medical school is really cliquey. And I think there's a reason behind that. You're with the same group of people for 5 years, or maybe even 6, whereas a normal undergraduate scheme is 3 years. And it's a lot more fluid, but medical school is really cliquey. And from week 1, week 2, people have already formed their friendship groups, and those friendship groups last 5 years. And you don't know that. I didn't know that. So everywhere where I sat in the lecture theatre, who I spoke to, people go in and they choose the same seats, and then they gravitate back to the same seats. It's very weird. And so I found myself sitting in the same lecture seat for like a good, at least 3 years of lecture training before we go into hospitals. And so I would say that there are personality types, and that you end up forming a clique really quickly. And I wouldn't say that's a great thing, but it's one of the features of med school, for sure.
I remember thoroughly enjoying my first year at university. I also remember from a sort of a workload point of view, it being quite more than I had anticipated, actually. We were going into lectures every day of the week, and there were exams possibly at the end of each term. There were sort of modular exams, and then a big sort of exams at the end of the year. So there was quite a lot of assessment, which is a good thing. But although I sort of found it a bit tough, I think, to start off with, and just to get into the rhythm of it, and to get into the flow of working as an undergraduate, which is very different from kind of working in your A-level context in a school.
In the first 2 years, the sheer volume of knowledge that is expected of us to absorb and accumulate is quite a lot. So I remember in the first term, they gave us 1 or 2 handbooks to absorb, which was fine. Second term, 2 handbooks. Third term, 3 handbooks. Whatever they throw at you, you just have to, yeah.
Right from the get-go, there's this ethos of work hard, play hard. And it comes about through this idea that you're kind of all in it together. And even the lecturers put that on you. So your first lecture was like telling you that this is your medic family, that these are your, that everyone here, you're going to go through 5 years together. And it's true, you see those faces for a long time. You're going to be in seminars together, in workshops. You're going to be facing dead bodies in the morgue, cutting them open. You're going to go through hospital days and night shifts with your colleagues. And so you're encouraged to form this bond with these people. But what happens if you don't? What happens if you're one of the people who end up sitting at one corner of the lecture theatre and actually don't really gravitate with all the people?
So the first 2 years is very much lecture based. You're going into your lecture hall 9 to 5, you're learning about the body, what's normal, what's not normal, about diseases, and you are learning about how to examine and how to take a history and communication skills. But a lot of it was very much absorbing as much information. So that was hard.
Well, certainly we were in for lectures, Monday to Friday, and in our first year they were all in the morning, and I think in our second year they were all in the afternoon. On top of that, most days you were spending a few hours extra reading the textbooks and doing the tasks and objectives that were set for you.
So in medical school, it's really didactic. I think in university it is generally, and by that I mean it's someone speaking to you from the front of a lecture theatre, you know, with hundreds of you and workbooks and having to make notes. And I think the first thing is you have to learn how you learn all over again, because the way you learnt at A-level isn't the same. So you spend the first sort of 6 months to a year just learning how to learn in this new arena, and medicine is very spoon-fed, unlike other specialties. So because they're churning out doctors who are actually going to be dealing with other people, i.e. patients, it's very spoon-fed from the get-go. So the learning is very boxed, it's very tailored, and so you end up learning in a very boxed way, I think, from the get-go, and that's the nature of your training. So you get told, this is how it is, this is how the heart pump functions, this is how the lungs function, this is what's happening at a cell level, this is what's happening at an organ level. And you start from basic science, so there's not a lot of change from your chem biology A-level, and then they start to ease you in.
So the actual amount of hours was quite a lot. It probably doesn't need to be that much. What I wouldn't say was that the content of what we were learning was particularly onerous, because the content was actually relatively straightforward, but it was just, there was quite a vast amount of it. Mm-hmm. So certainly this is how I felt in the first phase of university.
And then the third, fourth and fifth year are called the clinical years, and that's when you start going onto hospital wards and you go into clinics, in outpatient clinics, and you're actually attached to an obs and gynae or a surgery or a rheumatology or these departments, and you're learning as much as you can about that on the job. So what you've learned in the books you're putting into practice and you're seeing it, and that's where I was so much better at, because seeing patients with these problems in real life rather than in a textbook, you know, connecting with people on a human level, you could definitely remember things. And yeah, so I did so much better in third, fourth and fifth year.
So clinical years are interesting because suddenly for the first time you're taking what you knew into a hospital setting. And when I come to talk about early junior doctor training, you realise that it's all so fabricated, because as a clinical medical student, you're still so much in the backdrop. You are one of those people who are always in the way, and you're always kind of standing at the side of the ward, like crunching against a wall with your paper and pen, and kind of trying to ask doctors questions, but always feeling like you're intruding. And you just walk around with this constant sense of like ghost feeling, you know, like I'm not meant to be here. No one really sees me anyway. I'm just in the way.
That took a different sort of mentality and a different shift in your mental approach.
So you start. So I was, bearing in mind, so mine was 6 years total as an undergraduate. So I was 24 when I became a junior doctor. And so the first 2 years you're rotating through lots of different specialties, which brings you to about 26. So 25, 26, if you don't take a gap year, obviously. And you're at 26 and you're kind of then having to choose what further subspecialty do I want to do. So from then it becomes very much like a bottleneck, because you're getting closer and closer to your chosen organs and your patients and your specialty.
The challenge was that you're going from you know, turning up to lectures and then going back to your student kind of halls or where you live, and just sort of relaxing and going over notes and reading textbooks and kind of totally comfortable in your own time. And now you're going to the workplace where you have to have those all the professional behaviours, and you're trying to learn almost ad hoc. It depends what comes through the kind of the door in terms of clinic or in terms of the ward round, and you're much more self-directed. So it's the onus is far more on you that you're going to find the information out. So, for example, patients with a particular condition have certain signs, so you have to try and find those patients and hunt them down and try and elicit those signs.
You know, one thing really sticks out moving through the years of med school, and it's that you can't really afford to slack at any one tiny point.